Hi there, and thank you for joining me for today's live reading of Whiskey Throttle by Brooke May, and this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Prologue. Once upon a time. Yeah, I'm starting this whole ordeal with a motherfucking cliche. You've listened to Axel weave his tale of woe is me that led him to boning my sister on the reg, to Jax on how he thinks he tamed the feisty Linux, and then you got Levi's raunchy road to redemption. So yeah, now you get my whole tad of fucked upness. Okay, fine. Maybe it isn't that bad, but you're the one reading this now, so I guess you can be the judge of my story. I'm just sharing with you what happens in my life like the men who have come before me. I hope you get as much enjoyment out of it as some of the other people in my life who I call my family and friends do. Now, where was I? Oh, that's right. Once upon a time, I was a fucking legend. My world revolved around jumping my bike with a flair for tricks, drinking, dipping into some amazing drugs, and pounding into any willing female body offered up to me. Anything and anyone I wanted, I could get, and boy, did I get as good as I was able to mind-blowingly give back. Every night was filled with whatever I fucking wanted, which was usually an induced adventure that I have memories of most, but some are lost forever in the haze of pills, booze, and drugs. No matter how fucking blitzed out of my mind I would get, I always made one thing happen. No matter the woman I was with, I made sure I wrapped my dick up tight so no little Parkers would get out into the world. I may have been all about self harm, but I was and still am protective of my dick. After all, look at what happened with Levi with his last crazy lay before the vivacious Kendall rocked into his world. But mostly, it was to make sure I never got a bun in no random oven I never wanted to bake near again. And then Megan Whelan appeared in my life. Sweet and innocent to the outside world, she was one hell of a vicious kitten in bed who was just too damn tempting not to sink my teeth into. I did it quite often enough to that perk taught ass. Bite it, I mean. She was so easy to corrupt and surprising to everyone, including myself, and being the first woman I willingly and knowingly had a repeat night with. Several. I felt as though I was beginning to soften and finally allow another person in. For my entire life, only Paige knew my depths and all my fucked up issues because she was right there alongside me. And then Megan found out she was pregnant. I thought my life was already upside down and completely fucking sideways, and I did my best to flip it right side up to be the man I always dreamed a father would be like. If you know Axel and Paige's story, you know exactly what kind of fucked up life I was born into. If not, I hate to say it, but you should go back and start with their story before you're ready for mine because I don't feel like reliving it. If you're okay with starting here, then keep on going. I needed to be more than anything I ever had as an example to be worthy of both the love and devotion I already saw growing in Megan's bright hazel eyes with just as much hope for me. I started wearing fucking khakis, colors rather than the low slung black jeans and signature black shirts. My sister likes to think I stole from her, but we both know we were meant for that shade. It's an easy comfortable. Do I regret it? For the most part, I don't. The night my daughter was born into this world as a tiny preemie, I had no clue how to hold her when I was finally allowed to after a DNA test proved she was mine. I was changed. I now find that test completely unnecessary considering she looks just like my sister. But that moment shifted everything for me. A bright ray of sunshine now greets me every single morning when I wake up. Lindsay is a better light I never knew I was missing in my life, but I feel like shit because it doesn't feel like enough. I'm lost. Adrift in a sea of constant hurricanes of emotions I'm not sure I have the strength to survive. The partying, drugs, and especially the women all went bye-bye in favor of becoming a family man I never knew I could be capable of. I grew up with the worst kind of dad imaginable. There was no way in hell I'd let my daughter suffer the way Paige and I did. So I might have darkness doing its best to consume me right fucking now, but I'll be damned if I ever let my little sunshine see that part of me. I've become a recluse because I can't even be near someone who has a beer without wanting to rip it out of their hold and down the motherfucker like it's the last liquid to drink on earth. I've tried and failed for years, and I feel the pull of my own black hole about ready to suck me into its depths and could ruin every good thing I have in my life right now. I don't feel as though I'm enough to make my little girl's world a better place, and I know I'm failing at being the man Megan truly needs and deserves. How do I change it though? Not when I know nothing of what a healthy relationship looks like, because I'm sure as fuck not basing what I need to do off Paige and Axel's experience. This story might not be the enchanting story you might be looking forward to, but it's mine. It's real and painful, and you might hate me at some point, but this is what you're in for. I can't bring myself to apologize, though. Chapter 1. Grief, survivor's guilt, whatever the fuck you want to call it, is a motherfucking bitch to deal with even years after surviving the worst ordeal of your life. I don't know. I can't remember as much as Paige. But then add years of torment to it, and it just leads to one fucked up person. Paige adapted differently than I did. She's held her shit together with hardness and gave it a sharp ass edge to defend herself with. She became a bitch to everyone, and that included me, even though I know it all. Every single dirty and horrible detail she's lived through because I did as well. But hey, I'm her brother and can live with being her punching bag. And then the little honey badger known as Lennox Austin broke into Paige's vault, and a little girl was born and abandoned around the same time Paige lost her own child. Yeah, spoiler there. That was our lives until Axel Ryan, the giant from down under, stormed into our lives. Okay, that's complete bullshit. We all know Paige stormed those broody gates into his world. Haven't read about how they went after each other? I highly recommend that heartbreak back and forth. Back on track now. While Paige became this badass bitch with titanium balls, I became the party boy, fuck boy, all around lost dumbass who thought drugs, drinks, and getting my dick wet would fix me while keeping everyone an arm's length away. None of it did. And now I'm still coming back into this fucking gray office with books lining the shelves at my back and the same therapist I've seen for years sitting across from me, waiting for me to speak. I'm in here once a week with sweaty palms and not a word wanting to come out that likely should, and usually is like closing a raging dam to everyone else but this person. Plenty is going on in my head, as always, flooding and consuming me to the point that I can't think straight most of the time, but I'm paralyzed to talk about my issues I'm here for, like my sister has demanded me to do. He's grown accustomed to this hour filled with our breathing and my odd comments that never seem to faze him in the least. One of these days, I'll get this fucker to crack a smile. Is today the day, Parker? Do you have anything you're willing to share with me? His voice is a rumble, dragging across the room at the low tone meant to be relaxing. It just makes my skin bristle because, for some strange reason, it reminds me of my sperm donors, even though I logically know it doesn't. He's come a long way from calling me Mr. Bartin. That rubbed me the wrong fucking way the first day coming in here and sitting. I was higher than a weather balloon, too. It cut through that cloud real quick. I don't even like hearing my last name. It reminds me of the fuckwad who took my mom from us and then got himself killed, nearly taking Paige and me straight into the pits of hell with him. It's difficult since all legal stuff requires it, and so does announcing my runs. Lindsay is doing great. Megan finally let me put her on the back of a bike with me the other day for a little putt-putt ride around the straightaway of our track. Now I can't wait to get her one of her own when she's older. It'll be cute as fuck. It makes me laugh all over again, just remembering my daughter's smile and squeal of delight when I barely moved on the track at Piston Motorsports. His lips twist, knowing full well I'm diverting from the real reason I'm here. Ever since she was born, Lindsay became my entire life, the reason I breathe every day, yet I'm not enough. I can't bring myself to tell him that, though. I lack all possibility to get the words out that might help make me worthy of the pure, untainted love she gives me on a daily basis in a way only a barely old enough to be a toddler can do. Parker, how are you doing? He shifts in his seat, something to show me he isn't some machine riveted to the chair like his sole purpose is to be there day and night for his patients. I don't want to hear about Paige or Megan and Lindsay, and I don't need to know how your business is expanding. I want to know how you, Parker Bartin, are doing. My tongue grows 3 sizes too big, taking up all available space in my mouth until it feels like I won't be able to breathe and that'll be the end of me. I know enough to know it's all part of my anxiety, the stress of my past still coiling around me like the giant ass black snake Paige has tattooed on her leg. Maybe it's time for more ink. Since giving up everything in an instant, I've gone through more panic attacks than I have experienced since high school. It's also something else I've kept locked away from everyone. Still, nothing will come out of me to tell him this and get me on medication to help me out. I don't want any of that anyway. The medication would just be something else I'd likely get addicted to, and then I'm fucked all over again because I have an addiction to addiction. I'm doing life. I'm good. There's no hiding the cringe, not when I have no way to turn to conceal it from him. My hat was left at the door, his rule, so I don't even have to pull it low. Not that I would, since I always wear mine backward. Good? The single click of his pen has him writing something down. His steel-encased eyes are back on me in the next heartbeat without giving anything away. Anything else you'd like to add? Finally, he takes a more relaxing slouch in his seat, but it's barely noticeable. Only someone who's spent way too much time here would notice. It does nothing to put me at ease. My palms are still soaked as I wring them together while my foot won't stop bouncing. Parker, listen. You've come here for years now and have yet to give me anything of substance for me to help you. You know how therapy works, but only if you're willing to do the work to get there. If you want to keep wasting your money by coming to me just to breathe, then by all means, do so. I know this, but it never comes easy to me. In all honesty, I get more out of sitting my ass on Axel's couch in his office just yammering on about stupid shit than I do sitting here, but it's what Paige wants. Axel isn't a therapist, though. He's an accountant and doesn't want to hear my bullshit any more than I want to share it. I know that. I'm just not. My hands spring out wide before clapping back together with the accompaniment of a shrug. I don't know where to even begin. My head falls back on the stiff, unforgiving couch. Definitely not Axel's. That sounds like an excellent place to begin. He nods his approval, but I don't feel like I've earned any of it. I have enough money to blow on everything and still not touch the tip of the iceberg. It ain't going anywhere anytime soon, not with how much we are expanding and growing well beyond what Paige and I started with in our motorsports empire. I could sit here every week until death takes me. We went from scrawny homeless kids living in a fucking junker of a van to being someone's in the motocross world and helping shape the next generation as well. How am I supposed to start at the point I'm not sure of? Shouldn't it be from the beginning? I'm so damn confused. Usually, but it's whatever you make of our time together. You haven't wasted my time with these visits, just your own. Our time must be up because he flicks his gaze to his fancy ass watch and purses his lips. It's something for you to think about for next week, all right? Together, we stand and go about the same bullshit of shaking hands as he sees me out, and I'm able to reclaim my hat and pretend I'm okay for another day. There's always a thanks, but I never mean it. I didn't get anything out of it because he's right. I don't give it to be rewarded with any insight. Wiping my nose, I shove my body through the glass doors and head to my car. The weight on my shoulders remains even as I rev up my black 69 AMC and feel the purr of it. I can't just let it rip as I take off. I'm barely out of the lot when my phone begins to go off as usual. Are you fucking kidding me? Glancing down, I find Paige's name lighting up my screen. Still can't even let me get on the road, can you? Muttering, I chose to ignore the call. I'm not in the mood to listen to her right now. Sorry, sis. I'll deal with your wrath later.